what we'll do is we'll just move right along, and we will introduce our first speaker here, who is Rachel Tiemann from the library here, which is, it's a lovely building, by the way. I've never been in this particular building. And might I ask, are you the Tiemanns
Yes, that's good.
of Upper Manhattan?
Yeah.
No, but are they rich?
They were.
Yes, they were. Yeah, they were. They were.
See, they have all the places they do.
Sure. Yeah, long lost descendant of the Tiemann family. Anyway, well, welcome to our meeting, and feel, please. And it looks like our thing is all over. No. Oh yeah, it's not that loud. I don't know why. Okay, well, I can project for you. I can get a different microphone actually. So welcome. Yes, my name is Rachel. I'm the branch manager here. I've been the branch manager since we opened in 2022, June 8th of 2022. It's nearly our third birthday. We are the largest branch in Brooklyn, outside of Central, which isn't really a branch, it's our flagship location. We have the highest traffic of any branch, we make the most library cards. We are a 3-floor library. Downstairs here is our children's area, as well as this multi-purpose room, which is very highly trafficked. We had 4 things in here just today. We do a lot of in-house programming that our librarians plan in this room. We have a lot of facilitators who present programs here, a lot of city agencies, the Department of Education, all kinds of organizations use this space as well for meetings, as well as your own. So I have to be equitable as to how often a year I can let certain organizations use the space, just because it is so much in demand. Then on our ground floor is the adult collection, as well as laptops that we have in our laptop locker. People can check out a laptop to use in the library only for up to 2 hours and sit anywhere in the building they'd like to with it. And they connect wirelessly to our printers. So printing services and copying services are probably one of the highest used amenities in this building, right after the bathrooms. That is a question that we get many, many times, as we have a lot of tourists coming through this area who want to use the restroom, as well as all the bus drivers. So we have the bus stops that are right across the street, so they're always coming through and using the restroom. And then on our 3rd floor is our teen space. We're one of the first branches to have a designated teen space as part of the building. So we have been growing our teen base much more than we used to have, because they have a space to go. And they have a gaming room up there, and a craft room up there for themselves too. We have 3 conference rooms here that hold 8 to 10 people. Patrons can book the room with their library card for up to 2 hours, up to twice a month. And we also do same-day walk-ins, and we have space in those rooms. And people use them for Zoom calls, they use them for Zoom job interviews, tutors use them, people use them just to meet up, a co-working space, and sometimes just a quiet place to study. So a lot of amenities that we have here, and we're really excited by all the work that we do. We have over 30 programs a week for all ages. Check out our calendar on the way out. We have a calendar for children, teens, and adults that you can take away to the front desk. Check out our flyers for all the different things that we're doing, and also our online calendar will let you know everything that we're doing as well. So welcome. I don't know if there's anything else I was meant to touch on. If you don't have a library card, you should get one. Maybe not tonight, maybe not attack the desk as you leave tonight, but of course the next few months you should get your card. And we currently have a limited edition New York Liberty card representing the championship WNBA team. So if you're interested in that, you can get that library card too. So I'm gonna get you guys a different microphone that might be a little bit louder. I don't know what the deal is with this one, but I have a theater background, so I think I was able to project pretty well. So yeah, that's me. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks to Beth for getting the meeting started. Thanks to our hosts, we really appreciate it. For those who don't know, I'm Mike Morgenthal. I am the president of the Guys Association. Thanks for coming out to our June membership meeting. Did you go through the rules of the road?
The badges.
The badges, yeah. So you did the badges. The only thing we ask otherwise, my friends, is please silence your cell phones. Hi.
Is that louder?
This is louder. Oh,
Much better.
Great, thank you. Okay, great. Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Happy Eid al-Adha to anybody who's celebrating. Happy Pride Month to everybody. And happy Father's Day to all the fathers in GANYC. We appreciate each and every one of you. This is the President's report for the June meeting. First item, you might have seen this online. We've had a change on the board. Michaela Fagan stepped down from her position as member at large, and on behalf of the board and the membership, I want to thank Michaela for all her hard work and dedication to GANYC for the past year and a half. But we are fortunate that member Cherie Davis has accepted the board's invitation to fill Michaela's vacated spot as the member at large position. She'll serve the remainder of the board's term, which runs through the end of the calendar year in this position, and we really want to thank Cherie for stepping up and filling this empty spot. So thank you, Cherie. I don't think Cherie, is Cherie here?
Right here.
Oh, you are. Sorry, didn't see you. Thank you, Cherie. Really appreciate it. Okay. Second thing, we sent an email about this on May 28th of a proposed bylaw, a change to our bylaws, which, according to our bylaws, there's a minimum of a 7-day comment period for any time the board or anyone else wants to change a bylaw. The comment period here started May 28th. We'll keep it open until June 9th because we always like to include a membership meeting as part of that process. The board will consider all comments from any member and we will vote on whether to formally adopt the bylaw at our next board meeting, which is on the 16th of June, I believe. After my report, we'll have a few minutes to address any comments, yay or nay, any comments you might have. But you can also send comments to the email address board@ganyc.org or post them in the GANYC members Facebook page. So, what we are proposing is removing the following from the GANYC bylaws. Under the section of annual dues, the bylaw currently reads, in order to preserve the association's financial stability within each board's term, dues are raised at least once by an amount determined prudent by the board. The current board thought it was prudent to remove this from the bylaws to grant us flexibility necessary for setting the membership dues for the coming year, 2026, especially in light of the uncertain future of the tourism industry at the moment. That does not mean we are not going to raise dues. We just want to have the flexibility in case we choose to go in another direction. So once I'm done with my report, it will open it up to comments, questions about that if anybody would like to chime in. Next up, a couple of weeks ago, we added a new feature to the GANYC website. It's a Google Sheet. There's a link to it in the members section. Listing tour operators and attractions here in New York City. Thanks to member Lee Hallingby, our secretary, who's not with us. She's on her way to our annual baseball trip right now. So she's not with us today, but she took the lead on this project. It can be found on a link on the members page, and I will send out an actual link when I send out the president's report to everybody tomorrow. But it's important to know, my friends, that this list is in no way an endorsement of any of these companies except for those who are already GANYC industry partners. It's really just a resource for members, new and veteran resources. And if you do, we want this to be an organic living document. So if you review it and you know a tour operator or attraction that you want us to add, please email the secretaries at secretary@ganyc.org. And we hope that the membership, particularly our newer members, find this resource useful. We're currently working on another document that we're going to share on that same members page, which will be a list of best tour guide practices. We've been honing it a little bit, and we hope to get that up shortly. Speaking of things that are about to happen coming soon, the board and several of our committees have been working hard on creating a special emeritus membership category for retired guides who'd like to stay active in GANYC after the professional guiding days have come to a close. This will require a bylaw change. We're not proposing the bylaw change tonight, but I just wanted to let you know that we've been working on it. We hope to present the full bylaw change at the July membership meeting. In addition, we'll be starting soon to work with the Industry Relations Committee on revamping the Industry Partner Program to make it a more valuable resource for our members and our partners, and to make renewals easier to manage. I can tell you, Bob can tell you, industry partner renewals is really, really not it's not a good process right now. We're going to simplify it. This will also require a bylaw change, and plan to present this at the August meeting. We need to get the emeritus and the industry partner things taken care of before we set the budget for 2026, so that's why this is coming now. A lot of this is preview of stuff that's coming. The next thing, the certification class is going to happen this summer, my friends. Very exciting. So the certification committee has informed me that within the next week to 2 weeks, they will be announcing the formal schedule for our next certification class. Right now, they are targeting the second week of August as the start date for our certification class. This will be the first time the class has been offered since January 2023. So it's a great opportunity for both new and experienced guides to hone your tour guiding skills. The class traditionally focuses on guiding skills more so than destination knowledge, although that certainly plays a role. There is an additional cost to this to cover the costs of administering the class. But Committee Chair Michael Dillinger, who I saw 7 times in the last 2 days, but he's at a Broadway show tonight with his student group, told me that the cost should be similar to the last time that the class ran, which was $300. I will tell you though, my friends, for those of you who are not familiar with the certification class, it often pays for itself. What do I mean by that? Well, I'll give you just my example. I took the class right before COVID, actually, February 2020. I developed a tour about the history of newspapers in Lower Manhattan, which I give about twice a month now. And I probably would not have gotten off my butt and developed a tour without the certification class, and got great input from the people on the committee as well. So if you're worried about the money, the final project is always developing a tour of your own. So if you're worried about, oh, I don't know if I have the $300 to spend, I can almost guarantee that you will make that money back quickly, and it is definitely worthwhile. Michael also wanted me to stress that attendance at all sessions of this class is mandatory. It takes place over the course of a few weeks. They will unveil the full schedule probably in the next 10 days or so. But before you sign up, make sure you can attend every single class. And in case anybody's wondering why it has taken so long to have a class since January 2023, the committee's been working very, very hard to make the classes more evergreen so that they don't have to kind of start from scratch every time a class is offered. And this means more consistency for class attendees regardless of when they attend this session, the next session, et cetera, et cetera. And it also will hopefully reduce the workload on the certification committee. I can tell you developing and teaching the class is incredibly time consuming, and even though it's been a while since we had the class, I know I, and certainly the board, and hopefully all the membership, really appreciate the efforts of the committee, and it's definitely something that is worthwhile. More information is coming soon, so stay tuned for that. Emma Guest-Consales, our IT chair, she'll be here shortly, but I know she's not here yet. I don't think, is Emma here yet? So, no, not yet. Oh, the door is open, but it wasn't her. That would be really funny if that was her. Emma, who is the chair of the IT committee, she needs photos for the GANYC website. So what she's asking for is any member, you can submit an original, must be original, not something you downloaded off the internet, original high quality clear photos for use on the GANYC.org website, can be of any element of our city, or tour guides at work, or from our fan tours, or anything else fun that we like to share with the public related to New York City, tours, or tour guiding. Make sure you include a title for the photo, even if it's just like the name of the fan tour, if it's a photo from one of our fan tours, and include your full name so you get photo credit on the website as well. And all you have to do is send the photos to Emma at it@ganyc.org. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention before we'll open up to comments on the proposed bylaw, changes to the bylaws, is I just wanted to make everybody aware of an upcoming educational opportunity through the National Federation of Tour Guide Associations, the NFTGA. I know a lot of you were at the convention in Philadelphia earlier this year, and under the new administration, they're really trying to do a lot more continuing ed and PDP through Zoom. So the next one coming up is August 19th, and it's going to be about the Buffalo Soldier Heritage Trail. It will be led by a man named Robert Birch, who is the founder and executive director of the, I'm probably going to mispronounce this, Sema Hadithi Foundation, which will discuss Utah's Buffalo Soldier Heritage Trail and answer questions. There's a really long URL, which I will share in the President's report when it goes out. This will be August 19th, and I did not write down the time, but it will, I'm sure it's in the evening, and I will make sure to include the time when we send out the link for that. I had a couple other things about the WFTGA, but Emma has asked me to cede that time to her. She'll be here a little bit later. If for some reason she doesn't make it, I will hop back on and share some information about the WFTGA with all of you. So that is the President's report for this month. Happy to entertain questions about the report and also comments and questions about the proposed change to the bylaws. Yes, yeah, and by the way, when we call on you to answer questions, stand up and identify yourself first and last name, even if I know who you are already. Not everybody might. So let's start with Beth Goff.
Beth Goff. I'm just thinking regarding the photographs for the website. Sure.
Regarding the photographs on the website, it might be safe to not provide photographs with your guests' faces on them. I think, you know, it's just safer. If somebody ever happens on the website and sees their face, and I didn't give you permission to use my face, maybe safer. Just think about what you're submitting.
Yeah, that's a great point. And certainly, you know, for some of you, you might have that included in your terms and conditions if you book your tours, that, you know, by taking this tour, you agree for the right to be photographed. So if you get that, nothing to worry about, but that is a good point. So thank you, Beth. All right, next we'll do Mike.
Mike Zavala?
What? Here, Mike.
Oh, I don't read that.
Yes, you do.
Okay, well, could you give more details on the August 19th?
So the August 19th program is offered through the NFTGA, the National Federation of Tourist Guide Associations, which is our umbrella organization for all tourist guide associations here in the United States. I don't have much more information on my fingertips right now, but when I send out the written version of this to all the members via email, I'll get a little bit more information about that. But it's a Zoom. It's a Zoom to learn about the Buffalo soldiers in Utah during the Civil War.
All right, okay.
Great.
Andrew Newman. The certification program you mentioned, so that's how many sessions and when do you anticipate that kicking off, just for the mandatory?
Yeah, so, you want to answer that as a member of the committee?
Sure.
All right.
All right.
So,
hey,
we'll
I'm
see.
Jonathan Turr. I'm one of the members of the certification committee. Really?
I'm doing my Phil Donahue thing. It's all right.
I'm very. I'm getting way too loud on this. So it looks like it's going to be about 8 sessions. The sessions are going to run once weekly over the span of late August into whatever 8 more sessions is. Then there's going to be a break, and then you're going to be presenting your final project, which is the tour that you're developing through the 8 prior weeks. So it is very streamlined for people who have done certification before. It is a very different beast. We're not going to be having multiple in-person meetings across the week, and there are just going to basically be those 8 must-attend meetings. So the schedule is going to come out. Everybody's going to have an opportunity to understand what that schedule looks like. And it should be easier for everybody involved. The other thing is that we've been developing work that is going to be completely proprietary. So this is going to be something that GANYC owns. It is going to be 100% GANYC member created, so that we're never going to have to worry about one of the people whose works we were using kind of suspending their permission. We've previously been using a lot of other people who make a lot of money with the materials that they were letting us use for free. We're preempting that by doing everything ourselves. And that's really what's taken us so long to get to this point. We have a very small committee. We've lost more than half of our members. And so the remaining members have spent time sitting down and actually writing the material ourselves, basically by hand. So that's the deal. It's taken a long time. We feel like it's in a good place, and it should be a lot easier for everybody to participate in.
So you said August, I'm sorry, it's August
The kickoff should be late August, if I remember correctly, and that's gonna be.
Michael said second week, but he
Second
says
week?
TBD.
Yeah, it's gonna be second or third week of August. It really depends. Michael and I have to look at our schedules and a couple of the other members. And that's gonna be a kickoff meeting, and then we're gonna go right into the material. So the other thing too that people have to keep in mind, there is gonna be a material package, and you're gonna be responsible for reading and processing all of that material on your own. If you are not someone who likes to read, there's not a lot we can do for you. We're not gonna have a lot of recitation in the meetings. That burnt up a lot of time, and to be frank, the committee members do not have that amount of time to donate anymore. So we're gonna put it on you to read the material, be prepared to address the material the next week, and we're moving on. So it's very fast paced, and again, that should be really accommodating to everybody who has other tour guiding work to do through the fall.
Hold on, we'll make our way around.
I'm Jeremy Wilcox. I just wanted to very briefly offer my personal testimonial. I was in the same course as Michael in 2020. It's a very worthwhile course. I too developed a tour that I don't do as often as Michael, but has made me my money back that I invested in the course. And I would recommend, if you have the time, taking the course.
You know, I mean, let me just, if I could.
So the way that it works is that you're gonna have a couple of times when we're gonna get together as a group so that you're gonna get to know your fellow certification members. You're all gonna be working through this process together, and you're gonna be talking about your walking tour practicum and your bus tour practicum, and you're gonna be talking about your final project together. So you're all gonna be working on this together, step by step, week by week. But again, it is gonna be fast paced, so we're going to expect you to be prepared on day one when we have our orientation meeting, that you will have read through the package and understand what's coming up, because we don't have a lot of time. We want to make sure that you're successful when you get on the bus and you're doing your tour bus practicum, when you're on the street and you're doing your walking tour practicum, but we need you to be ready to roll from day one. We're going to provide you with all the material in advance, but again, it's very fast paced, so that we're in, we're out weekly, within the span of about 8 weeks. So that's the other thing, is we are gonna have you prepare or be prepared to take as part a segment of a walking tour that we're all gonna give together. We're gonna expect that you're gonna be prepared to take 5 minutes, 10 minutes on a bus as we're going through a route across Manhattan that you are going to be given in advance. So for example, you're gonna have to be prepared to say something about Rockefeller Center, Times Square, Central Park, while we're moving on the bus. And for folks who haven't done the bus, we were just talking about this, if you've never, with a couple people, if you've never done a bus tour, this is gonna get you kind of comfortable, hopefully, and understanding how to get yourself to that point once we're done with that bus tour practicum. So it's really, we're trying to give you a little bit of everything across those 8 weeks, and a cohort of people that you can work with together to make sure that you're feeling comfortable with what we're doing.
Great, thank you for that de facto committee report, John. Michael would be very, very pleased, but yeah, certainly for those who have the time to dedicate to it, especially for our newer members or people who are newer to the industry, it is something that you definitely should strongly consider if you can.
Hi, I'm Ellen Simon. I have a question for my friend who's here checking out the industry. So if you, is it for, I mean, obviously you have to be a member of GANYC,
Yes.
which means you have to be licensed in New York?
Yes.
And what are the other qualifications? Are there any
There's
other?
no, it's just, you gotta sign up before it's sold out, right? There's no.
Oh, for certification?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to be a member of GANYC and sign up, and have the $300.
Yeah.
And do you have to create your own tour?
Yes.
That's the final product.
Yep. If you do not create your
So-
final tour, you will not be certified.
Right, and so when you are certified, I know people have accused me of being certifiable, but when you're certified, you get a notation on the GANYC website, a little like red banner underneath your photo that says you're a certified guide. There is a, and I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but there is also a requirement to keep up with certain educational things to maintain your certified status. So, but I don't want to spend too much more time on this, because a lot more information is going to come out. So Okay, any other thoughts or questions, my friends, or comments about our proposed change to the bylaws? Jonathan, once again, here we go.
It's me again.
That's fine.
It's him. Hi, it's him.
Yeah,
Just
well,
stand up, please.
I was on the board when this bylaw was passed. It's a very recent bylaw that was passed just in the last administration. It's really kind of along the lines of just saying, you know what, we should, as an organization, kind of do the equivalent of visiting the doctor on a regular basis. And part of that sort of well-being of the organization is to make an increase to the dues. It's not a mandated increase of $100 or $25, it could be $1. So I want to ask you, as you're contemplating comments that you may make, do you think that you could afford 50 cents a day to pay for GANYC? And if you say 50 cents a day is a moderate amount, that's actually more than you're paying currently. So the moderate amount that we would raise the dues to get it to 50 cents a day would perfectly match the mandate of the bylaw as it currently stands. So I know that there are certainly people who have lost work. I know several of them, but I also know that a lot of people are out there in the field. Mike was saying that he's seen Mike, seen Michael Dillinger. I've been out in the field. I've been seeing lots of people. So we are not a dead industry, for sure. And I would encourage members to make a comment to inform the board that they believe that they could legitimately pay this year and probably even next year 50 cents to support GANYC and keep it moving forward in good practices so that we maintain this bylaw for the next administration and they're not inspired to backslide again and put us in a situation where we are in financial dire straits, which we were previously. So I would encourage people to comment to the board against the adoption of this bylaw.
Okay, thank you for your thoughts, Jonathan. Certainly from your perspective as being on the board when that bylaw was put into place.
Hi, Roche Melonian. Would you consider readjusting the proposed language so that instead of taking it out altogether, you say the board needs to address and consider raising rather than actually raise?
We will certainly take that comment under advisement. At the moment, what we are planning is the removal of the bylaw as it's currently written, but adjusting it to say, I mean, that will basically accomplish the same thing. It'll, basically defang it, but we could certainly consider the language change there. So we have time for one or two more comments. I don't want to delay our guest speaker too much. Like I said, you can also send your comments into board@ganyc.org or post them on the members' Facebook page.
The first thing, hi, I'm Sarah, I'm your treasurer. So firstly, I want to second what Mike just said. These are all comments that we really do want to hear from you. We really want to know how you feel about the proposed bylaw change, as well as how you would feel about a proposed increase or maintenance at the same level or decrease, whatever, of our dues. Now, as the person who is maintaining our finances, I am very much of a mind that we should do whatever it is necessary to keep GANYC fiscally healthy. With the summer and fall being in such flux right now for so many of us, knowing how you feel, knowing where you are at right now will give us the tools that we need, with or without the bylaw change, to make adjustments to make sure that GANYC is as fiscally healthy as possible and is able to retain as many members as possible. But I just want to make sure that everybody understands that whether or not the change to the bylaws is accepted, whether or not this is removed from the bylaws, if it is removed from the bylaws, that doesn't mean we're not going to increase dues if that seems like the fiscally healthy option. It just means that we don't have to if that doesn't feel like the most fiscally healthy option. And I know I'm saying fiscal a lot and probably boring you out of your minds, but basically the bylaw change and where the dues will be next year are two separate questions. We would love to hear from you all of your actual real feelings about both, especially if you are in favor or against the bylaw, because that's going to be the first thing we do before adjusting the dues one way or another.
Great, thank you, Sarah. For those of you who might be new members and not familiar how our budget process works, in July, the board reaches out to all the different committees to get a proposed budget for the coming fiscal year, which begins November 1st every year. We then have a marathon board meeting in August to review all of the budget proposals and make adjustments where we see necessary. And then that budget, along with the proposed dues for the coming year, are introduced to the membership at our September annual general meeting. And at that point, members have a chance to comment on all of that, and members vote to approve or reject the dues for the coming year. So that is the process, and so this bylaw, proposed change to the bylaws, is just setting us up potentially to give us a little bit more flexibility. Under the current law, current bylaw, we could raise it 1 cent if we wanted to, but we were mandated to raise it at least 1 cent. We did not raise the dues at all during after the first year of the current board, so under the current bylaw, we would be mandated to raise it in whatever small or large amount we saw fit. And the current board is thinking, like I said, we want flexibility, not to necessarily have to do that. But all of these comments are definitely very, very valid and will be taken into consideration. So, okay. So with that, my friends, like I said, if you have further thoughts, if you have further comments, email them to the board@GANYC.org. Although I would actually encourage you, it would be better, post them in the Facebook page so we can get a conversation going about it, right? As opposed to it just being, individual messages coming to the board and, us not really, not being an open and frank conversation about it. We want to be as transparent as possible. So, okay, with that said, it is time for us to move on to our guest speaker, and I believe, Bob, you're going to introduce, so Mr. Bob Gilbert.
So, welcome everyone to Brooklyn. It's nice to be back once in a while. I left here over 50 years ago when I got married. Anyway, tonight our guest speaker is Prithi Kanakamedala, is a professor of history at Bronx Community College, CUNY, and also teaches at CUNY Graduate Center. She's an active public historian here in the city and has collaborated with Dance Space Project Incorporated, Place Matters City Law, Brooklyn Historical Society, now the Center for Brooklyn History at the Brooklyn Public Library, and Wheatsville Heritage Center. Brooklynites, the remarkable story of free Black communities that shaped a borough. NYU Press 2024 is her first full-length book, so please welcome Prithi.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I want to thank the Guys Association of New York for inviting me here today. Your colleague Lisa couldn't be here last minute, but that's who I was communicating with, and I so appreciate it. To Bob and Beth for taking care of me when I showed up this afternoon. I also want to thank my former Graduate Center student, CUNY Graduate Center student, Bob Brennan, who I know is quite active in this organization, who made the connection when the book came out of saying this would be a good fit. I always start sort of these talks with gratitude, so I also just want to thank Brooklyn Public Library. The book thinks a lot about public spaces that allow us to create community like this and to meet and to think about bylaws and conversations around what it looks like to create community. So shout out to BPL. I also want to thank, although my name is on the cover of that book, I want to thank public historians and folks working in public history who were at the center of knowledge production with me. And that, of course, includes archivists, museum educators, even the grants folks who got us the money in order to be able to do this public history project. And the handout that you have is actually a brilliant walking tour guide called Suzanne Spellin, who used to write, of course, as Montrose Morris for the Brownstoner. And whose exquisite walking tours were based on my writing and research 13 years ago.
And finally, I do want to sort of shout out and honor the labor of the families and the scores of Brooklynites who are celebrated in the book and who shaped the streets and then walked this borough when it was then a city long before any of us. I want to start with the idea of walking because this is what you all do so phenomenally. And I will tell you, I took my recent grad class for a walk, that very walking tour that you're looking at. And about 10 minutes in, I was like, this is not for me. I am not a walking tour guy. And my poor students were like, yeah. She's a great storyteller, but walking tours are not her. My friend, artist and oral historian Wallace Johnson, occasionally gives tours of her Brooklyn neighborhood where she grew up and the neighborhoods that surround her childhood home. It was an honor for her to do the walking tour this semester because she announced to my graduate students that she was going to retire that particular walking tour. And so her practice, she says, is about an embodied sense of place, right? An embodied sense of place in which she explores the way in which redlining, displacement, and gentrification have affected her home borough, but also more specifically her home neighborhood of Clinton Hill, Fort Greene, and how it then affects the political and physical sense of self. So during this walking tour, Wallace invited us to stand on a sidewalk, right? The beautiful concrete slabs that make neatly shaped squares. And it was more room, I have to say, when she made us do it initially, than we as New Yorkers are often afforded in public spaces, right? I had a whole square to myself. But then she told us not to move, and we stood there. And we stood there for a really long time. And she asked us in the 5 minutes, which actually felt like a good hour, what it felt like not to be able to move. And the spoiler alert is, it feels terrible, right? It feels terrible to have to just stay in your spot and not be allowed that freedom of movement. So that idea of walking, right, in a very walkable city like ours, has been on my mind for some decades. And by extension, the very folks who walk this city and streets long before us. And I'm thinking, of course, about 19th century Brooklynites. Walking is a central theme in my book, Brooklynites, which tells the undertold story of the borough's 19th century free black communities who shaped their neighborhoods and city in a radical anti-slavery vision. As Brooklyn, of course, was, as you all know, a separate city then, and would become the third largest city in the United States on the eve of the Civil War. The project began in 2010 when I worked not far from here. I used to work at the Brooklyn Historical Society, and I've actually spoken in this library, and when Bob said, have you been here before? I said, yes, but it didn't look like this. I think it wasn't it the business library?
Yeah.
A while ago, right. That is how long it has been since I've been in this structure. The project began in 2010, and it came out of a series of activism that was happening in real time. Back during the Bloomberg administration in 2008, 2009, they had already said that they were going to be tearing down the houses on Duffield Street, if you know that story. And so it was down to the late, she's since passed away, Mama Joy Chattel, who said, actually my house, 227 Duffield, and my neighbors' homes are very much part of the Underground Railroad. And she did walking tours and real sort of public engagement around what these houses meant in terms of Brooklyn's history. Like everything that this city does, those houses were torn down regardless, apart from 227 Duffield. Folks were asked to move. But one thing that came out of it was, because of the success of the African Burial Ground, the city turned around and did an RFP and asked cultural organizations here in Brooklyn to bid to tell the story of Brooklyn's anti-slavery or abolitionist movement. So in I Walk 2010, newly minted PhD, I think I had lived in New York all of 6 years by then and did not consider myself a New Yorker by then. And worked on this as a project historian with several folks, researchers who were graduate students, lifelong New Yorkers, just really liked hanging out at BHS and loved the Othman Library. And we put together a narrative that I think I'm always very careful about saying that we did not discover anything new, and we did not uncover stuff. Rather, we recovered a story that has been undertold for far too long here in Brooklyn. And that story, of course, outside of Weeksville is that free Black communities lived across this city. They lived in spaces like Dumbo, right here in Brooklyn Heights, in Williamsburg, and of course in Weeksville. So that the handout that you see in front of you that Bob very kindly put on your seats at the beginning was created as part of that project, right? It came out of the research and writing that I did for about 4 years. And it was, we had exhibits, we had K-12 curricula, we had an original theater production thrown in there, we of course had the walking tours, and we had, I'm forgetting something, we had a website, right? Grant writer's dream, historian nightmare, that you're gonna produce all of these things. So that is what you see in front of you, and it makes me kind of sad, because you know, the walking tour still exists as Suzanne sort of dreamed of it, but I don't think folks really do that walking tour anymore. So the invitation is absolutely there. If any of you want to pick it up, we'd be so grateful. And it was to think about, before there was today Van Leeuwen Ice Cream, which I always still think is Ample Hills Creamery. And before it was a firehouse, what did that Fulton Street ferry look like? What did it look like, that part of Brooklyn that's full of tourists this afternoon, look like in the absence of bridges? And so this book comes out of that. With your blessing, I'm just going to read a little bit from the book, and I will try and end early because it sounds like you have a packed agenda, and I was told to leave room for questions and answers. So here goes. Brooklyn has a distinct story to tell in the history of social justice. From the end of the American Revolution to the start of the Civil War, Brooklyn expanded from one of 6 former colonial agricultural towns that lay on stolen indigenous land in Kings County to the 3rd largest city in the United States. As it did so, Brooklyn's small but growing free Black community, ordinary people from all walks of life, including business people, church leaders, educators, homeowners, journalists, laborers, and writers, sought to grow their city in a radical anti-slavery vision. The 19th century residents of Brooklyn Heights, Fort Greene, Weeksville, Williamsburg, and the areas we know today as downtown Brooklyn, Dumbo, and Vinegar Hill, engaged in a multifaceted struggle as they organized and agitated for racial and social justice. They did so even as their own freedom was threatened by a magnitude of injustices, including racial violence, systemic and structural racism, racial capitalism, and the potential for kidnapping of slavery into slavery in the South. These Brooklynites met in the city's churches, schools, parks, home, public platforms, and private spaces all around spaces you're standing in or sitting in today. In choosing to live in or in close proximity to an emerging urban landscape surrounded by the vast New York harbor, they took advantage of a city on the rise in order to pursue economic opportunities and build and sustain their communities. Brooklynites, this book, tells the rich story of New York's 2nd largest borough and 4 sets of families from its 19th century free Black community, the Krogers, the Hodges, the Wilsons, and the Gloucesters, all of whom call this place home. It is a place-based cultural and social history of Brooklyn, and it's a book about families, traditional biological ones, and the ones we intentionally create to strengthen our human bonds, that is, chosen family. The book restores the breadth and depth of the work of these 4 families, along with that of scores of other Brooklynites who displayed courage and conscience to expand our understanding of freedom, and it explores the ways in which these residents both physically and politically navigated their own city on a daily basis. In The Right to the City, the scholar and geographer David Harvey writes, quote, "The question of what kind of city we want cannot be divorced from the question of what kind of people we want to be, what kinds of social relations we seek. The freedom to make and remake our cities and ourselves is one of the most precious yet most neglected of our human rights," end quote. Today, we owe a debt to the activism of these Brooklynites, and the legacy of their work is still immeasurable. Conceptualizing freedom remains essential to our humanity and the ways in which we make life. Our contemporary context for inequality, in both New York City and the United States, did not arbitrarily begin with redlining, segregation, deindustrialization, broken windows policing, and urban renewal in the 20th century. Far from it, how we got here is deeply connected to the history of Brooklyn in the 18th and 19th centuries. Let me fast forward. If today's present moment pessimistically reflects this country's long history and legacies of colonialism, genocide, slavery, imperialism, capitalism, gentrification, and displacement, through the rise of populism, domestic terrorism, white supremacy, racial violence, and deeply embedded anti-Black racism, I would say Brooklyn's Black communities have lessons to teach us. History has never been one of linear progress. It remains in circular motion, with each revolution inching us slowly towards a more just society. Brooklynites is a story of necessity. In the stories of Brooklyn's 19th century free Black residents and their activism, history can be one of majestic hope, deep humanity, and love. This is a story of placemaking, of land, home, and labor, of New Yorkers past and the legacy they left us. This is the story of Brooklyn. I'm gonna fast forward in some sort of Cliff Notes-esque style. You'll have to read the middle bit yourselves, but I'm gonna get to the end and what the point of the book is about. And it very much is about when we walk across our city, when we walk the streets, are we remembering the very people who walked it before us? Are we remembering the stories that are so deeply buried in the city's soil? In spring 2019, I was honored to be invited by my brilliant colleague, Zenzele Cooper, then program manager at Weeksville Heritage Center, to speak at an event that the organization was hosting. The event was titled A Time for Seditious Speech, and Weeksville Heritage Center staff, stewards of the legacy of its groundbreaking historic community, collectively put together a day-long program that reflected Weeksville's long historical connection with activism, art, education, free speech, and self-determination. My talk that day, which was in dialogue with the folks at Weeksville Heritage Center who've been doing this kind of work for decades, from the inspiring late Dr. Joni Maynard onwards, reflected on space, right? The kind of space that we're sitting in today, the power of place, being beneficiaries of stolen land, and the right to the city. Many of the ideas that originally germinated this book and its decade-plus-long research. In particular, I wanted to explore how Black people created spaces of freedom in the 19th century that would allow for seditious speech to become a possibility, and more specifically, how Black women made this a reality. The history lovingly restored in this book is not dead. It is living and breathing through the descendants of the Brooklyn families honored in this book, and is living and breathing in the social justice issues we witness and experience today. And I would add in real time, it is living and breathing every time you do that walking tour and meet a group. We can be witness to Maritza Lyons' rich life because her nephew, Harry Albert Williamson, son of her sister Pauline, lovingly preserved their family papers and then donated them to the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture at New York Public Library. And the brilliant scholar, Dr. Carla L. Peterson, Maritza's great-grandniece, is a living descendant, composed her beautiful family history for all of us to read. We can follow, this is one of the families, we can follow the beautiful story of Willis and Sarah Hodges because their descendant, Alexander A. Moore, carefully preserved his family memories and ephemera. Some of Alexander Moore's family photos can be found today in the archival collections at Weeksville Heritage Center. The commemoration of these families and the memories of Brooklyn also live on, of course, in private family collections, in albums, attics, garages, bookshelves, trunks, and closets. Families can also take up the activist legacy of their elders and ancestors in continuing to demand the right to the city. On February 2nd, 2021, the home of the late Mama George Chappelle at 227 Duffield was designated a New York City landmark by the Landmarks Preservation Commission. It represented one ending of a 2-decade struggle to save her home from demolition, which the city had originally demanded through eminent domain. Her daughter, Shanae Lee, has been part of a grassroots borough-wide coalition of fellow activists. Together, they resisted displacement, rezoning, gentrification, eminent domain, and historical erasure in the name of progress. They continue the struggle today to respectfully commemorate and remember our complex past and desire for it not to be erased by multi-million-dollar, transnationally financed urban development in the present. Today, the street is renamed Abolitionist Place, after the Truesdale family that lived there. When I walked past the home in the spring of 2023, I was struck by the enormity of it in depth, height, and space. Of the luxury condo building and commercial buildings that now surround 227 Duffield, and the huge gaping hole to the west of the house that will one day become a park containing an underground parking lot. That is actually a park today. I don't know that it's got an underground parking lot. I've written it before it was finished. Perhaps as you read this, construction on the park is now complete, and the sounds of Brooklyn and its people past and present echo through the space. Let me just see, where do I want to go to? There we go. Brooklyn's 19th century free black communities bequeathed a legacy of radical possibility, even as the problems they faced delivered profound challenges to their daily existence. These black Brooklynites established an intellectual, political, and activist framework within which notions of freedom and US democracy remain at the center of who we are today, and with hope tomorrow. It is my honor to be able to write about the lives of people who graced Brooklyn streets long before us, especially right now. And I was writing this in 2022, by the way. If we listen to the past, 19th century black Brooklynites show us how to strategize against white supremacy, state-sanctioned violence, and structural racism. If we listen to the past, we may pay our respect to those who made certain freedoms a possibility. If we listen to the past, we can be a conduit for the knowledge they created and pass it on to the next generation, to Brooklyn. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you so much, Preeti. We really appreciate that. Before we open up to questions, where can people find your book?
Yeah, absolutely, thank you. You can find a copy here in this branch. And you can also find a copy, you can go to Atlantic, Barnes & Noble are carrying it. If you're a fan of McNamara Jackson, they are carrying it. There are, I'm trying to think, Cafe Con Libros are carrying it in Brooklyn. But yes, all the major bookstores.
Great.
Thank you.
So I'm going to open up to questions and I'll bring the mic around. So, yeah.
Hi, Sarah Lyons again. We met earlier. First off, I'm so excited to read this book. This handout is absolutely incredible, and there's a name that comes up a couple of times, the Sands family. And I am curious if in your research you were able to get in touch with the descendants that are currently alive and the GANYC Peninsula Historical Society, because oh my God, they are so good at telling the story of John Sands, the older brother, and they're so bad at talking about the enslaved people in these households. So I'm wondering, since the last time that I worked with them, have they taken any advice from you? Have you been able to talk to them about any of this? What's going on with that?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. This comes up a lot, not just the descendants of the slaveholders who are all named in the book. Sand Street Church, of course, is the catalyst to how we have Bridge Street AWME today. Black people were asked to sit in segregated pews, and so will go found an independent church of their own, the oldest black church here in Brooklyn. And we were also looking for descendants of the original families too. It's a funny one, when you do public history, for those of you who work in museums, I would say 15 years on, it's much more the norm to try and find descendants. At the time, and I say this with love, there's no judgment, DHS was not keen to find descendants of slaveholders because they were worried about stakeholders and what would come from it. So, no, we didn't find descendants, or I didn't find descendants, and I'm also a CUNY professor now, so I have a very heavy teaching load. I teach at Bronx Community College, where I teach a full teaching load, 4 courses in the fall, 4 in the spring. So I think in writing the book, I was just really keen to get the main narrative out, and I always say, this book is an invitation, it's not the end of a chapter, right? It's an invitation if the Sand Street Church is open to that kind of dialogue,
to absolutely start that conversation, but nobody has reached out to me. Apart from actually the descendants of 2 of the families, they've reached out. Yeah, which is
Great. Next.
Hey, Mike Grant. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. It's so very informative. Curious about the Duffield House landmark. Did they ever get around to doing any like underground forensics in the structure or false walls? Did they find something, any telltale signs?
Whatever you prefer. I can use this stuff.
So they did, so because of the African burial ground, I'm sure many of you know this, the city is now obliged to actually research. And there is, they are called AKRF. They are often contracted by the city to put together like a scholarly board or an advisory board to go research dwellings. So this is all pre-me coming to the project. It consisted of historians, archaeologists, oral historians, because of what the Underground Railroad was, and maybe those stories were passed down. And they weren't looking so much for architectural features, because what they said was, and this research that was borne out in the end shows, freedom seekers from the South who were coming to Brooklyn weren't coming here to necessarily hide. So to get rid of the idea that they're hiding in attics and tunnels and spaces. One of the most famous cases in the book is Isaac Nelson, who was actually a shoemaker at the Fulton Street Ferry, and he actually publishes his story in the Long Island Star, saying, I'm a freedom seeker. I came here in terms of legal status as a fugitive, and I'm now working here in the city. But what they absolutely established was, because of the secretive nature of the Underground Railroad, 227 Duffield was and because of the Truesdales living there, that it was absolutely part of this history and that it should be saved. Can't remember the report. The report is huge. I can't remember what they said about the other houses, but my feeling is, based on the fact that the others got demolished, that 227 Duffield was a surefire one, and then unfortunately the rest not. But I do remember the bit about architectural features not being sort of heads-on for what they were looking for, and then I think it was Craig Wilder, who was a historian, who said, yeah, but you might not find it, right? Because freedom seekers aren't looking to hide when they came here in the 19th century. They're looking for the thing we're all looking for, which is a better way of life, right? They're looking for a home, they're looking for a job, they're looking for a way to start, a new family life.
More questions for Preeti? Yes, Jonathan.
So in the years since the book has been published, I'm kind of just curious how people have been reflecting on what you've written about. And is there one thing that maybe people have found to be the most surprising or the most significant thing that you uncovered or discussed in the book?
You have 6 seconds to consider that.
I know. Thank you. I don't know if surprising is the word. Folks are just happy that a story that is being told, certainly of Visitors to Leesville Heritage Center, is finally written down, right? That it wasn't just a free Black community that existed in Bedford Stuyvesant and Crown Heights today, but actually these free Black communities existed everywhere. I can tell you, so I teach up in the Bronx, and you know this as New Yorkers, none of my students in the Bronx could care less about Brooklyn, right? So I would say they were probably the most surprised. They were like, oh, that borough over yonder, here goes that professor again. And so the idea that slavery existed in New York, I don't know that that's so surprising, but that Brooklyn was a slaveholding capital, I think surprises people. And I think tells us so much about Brooklyn, why it is the way it is. And I think the other big surprising one, and the one I think I just touched on, is the idea of that Underground Railroad, right? People love those stories, and it has, huge cultural cachet to it to tell of folks hiding. You think of Harriet Jacobs. There is a young person who hid in Lewis Tappan's home on Pierpont Street, Anne Maria Weems. People love those stories. There's a sort of drama to it, and I think what surprises people is that ordinary people were hiding in plain sight constantly in the city, even in the threat of kidnappers. So I would say maybe surprising. But my Bronx students, this was mind-blowing. They were like, oh, it's not just that borough over yonder, it actually has a whole history to it.
Okay, we have time for about 2 or 3 more questions. We'll come to Harvey.
Harvey Paul Davidson. First, I want to thank you for being here and telling your story, and I appreciate all the research you're doing. With regard to research, I am a native Brooklynite growing up in the city. I won't say which era, but most of you know. And are you familiar with street games that kids played in Brooklyn? Is there any research that's been done on this?
That's a great question, thank you. I don't know of any research, but I do know, and you probably know, Center for Brooklyn History has a beautiful collection of photographs of just children generally and street stuff and fire things being opened, like all of it. So I don't know that anybody's written about it, but I'm happy to be wrong.
It has been written about by Folklore Society.
Oh, okay, amazing.
City
Thank
Lore.
you.
City Lore.
City Lore.
Steve Seidel, yeah.
Yes.
Coffee table book on street games.
Amazing, thank you.
Games.
We have time for about 2 more questions. What's that? History of sporting goods companies. Okay. Any other questions for Preeti? All right. Mike and Mason.
Hi, Mike Sifolo again. By the way, some of this you can get at the formerly the Brooklyn Historical Society, which is now the Long Island Historical Society, right here on Pierpont. All right? Yeah? I just had a small question. The descendants, the black landowners, or the black freemen, landowners, are any of their properties still existent?
So it was Long Island Historical Society, then Brooklyn Historical Society, now Center for Brooklyn History as part of this system. Are any of the properties still in existence? I'm not gonna lie, I don't know the answer to that. I know the street's named after them. I know there are descendants who are very wealthy from their ancestors and what they did as slaveholders, but I don't know, is my honest answer. Because so much of that land in the 19th century is parceled off into private lots. So I don't know the answer. It's my honest answer.
Mason Loki from Staten Island.
Hello.
And I accidentally found out a place called Sandy Ground.
Yes.
And I'm helping them celebrate their 200th anniversary. So take a look at that borough.
Oh,
There's
yes.
some interesting history there too.
Yes.
I'll just say that it's the oldest established of free blacks, and their descendants are still living there 200 years later. And they preserved the church, the cemetery, and 11 buildings. And they're working on a new museum.
Yes, thank you so much. Debbie Ann Page is a good friend and colleague and has been doing phenomenal work in Staten Island. Every borough had a free black community. This one is just telling the story of Brooklyn. Of course, we all know the thriving free black community that was in 5 Points in Seneca Village, Central Park. There was one, of course, in Elmhurst. It was called Newtown, Queens. You know this. And the other one was around the AME Church in the Bronx, around sort of Harchester today. So every borough had a free black community, and I think it is important that we keep telling those stories. So absolutely, Debbie Ann Page is doing, and a lot of people are doing incredible work in Staten Island.
And I'm shocked at how many people, even in Staten Island, don't even know about it. So why do they call Ferry Boat Sandy Ground?
I have one final question before we wrap things up. We're here in the shadow of Plymouth Church. What was the relationship between the free black community and Beecher and the Plymouth Church?
Thank you so much for that question. So going back to stakeholders, when we started this project, Plymouth Church were obviously very keen, because they are neighbors with what was then BHS Brooklyn Historical, to tell the story the way they tell it, which is Beecher was an abolitionist, and he helped lots of young, very fair-skinned black women gain their emancipation. While factually absolutely true, what they were unwilling to do is kind of scratch at the surface and think about from whose perspective is that story being told. And so in the book, what I try to invite readers to do is to think about how young some of these girls were. Some of them were not much younger than my kid, who was 7, 8, 9 years old, being put on a very theatrical stage, because that's what Beecher was about, and that's how he fundraised.
and how it must have felt for a child to be in this mock auction thing, and really whose story is being told in that. So it does celebrate Beecher in that he was a celebrity in that time, brought over huge crowds to Brooklyn, but it also asks us to invite perspectives around his stories. You will see several Black church leaders at that time always say, if you need to fundraise money, because Black women were constantly fundraising money for their relatives who were still in the South under enslavement, you should go to Beecher. Like, that's your guy. He will get you the money because he is rich, or his congregation is rich, and they can get you whatever remains. So there is a woman called Pomona Bryce. Her book is up in the Yale Special Collections, and it clearly shows you all the Black churches that exist today in Brooklyn: Concord, Shiloh, Bridge Street. They're all named, not fundraising as much necessarily, and then there's Plymouth with a huge donation. Right, so thinking about Plymouth Church, again, as a collective, right? Not just about his story or their story, but actually that they were working as a community.
All right, so my friends, can we have a big round of applause for these guys here? Thank you so much for joining us. Go buy her book. Okay, so we are now going to move on to our committee reports, committee chairs. It's up to you whether you want to stand here or up on the stage. It's not a requirement either way. So first up is going to be the membership committee report, and that's going to be presented by Roche Mamonian. Ro, come on down. And Jeremy. There you go.
Hello everyone, I'm Jeremy, this is Ro. I'm just going to start off the report and then I'm going to hand it off. So this report has been given on behalf of our wonderful chair, Ann McDermott. So the committee members, we want to thank them all: Maggie Brown, Tony DeSante, Bob Gilbert, John Henke, James Hoffman, and of course myself, Vince Meehan, Ro, and Robert Zhu, who's here somewhere. There we go. And so we've been getting a lot of new members lately, so we want to thank all of you who are referring people to GANYC. You don't have to stand up, but a show of hands, how many of you here joined GANYC within the last 6 months? So we appreciate that. You guys are helping drive the growth of this organization. We've got, I think, lined up for the next interview session 5 members already, so we're continuing to grow. We appreciate all of your work. So we recently had a networking event at Mears Tavern, which thanks to Andrea Coyle, who helped us organize that in Queens. We'll be doing more networking events later on in the year. Stay tuned for that. And we have a upcoming committee meeting that will be announced shortly to discuss upcoming plans. If anyone is interested in joining the membership committee, please reach out to us at membership@organic.org. And I know many of you got on the way in, but if anyone needs any additional swag, we do have some back at the desk. So I'm going to turn this over to Roche Mamonian, who will give us an update on how the guiding mentorship program has been evolving.
Hey, thanks, Jeremy. Hi, everybody. We kicked off the mentorship program just at the end of April. I want to say thank you so much to everybody who's put their hand up and said that they would be a mentor. We're looking for more going forward. We asked everybody in the 10 pairs that we were able to identify. I was looking for 5, I got 10, so I'm very happy with that outcome. We had 10 initial pairings, so 20 people working together. One of the first things we asked them to do was set goals. This is not a situation where you're just going to learn more about the industry. That's what this meeting is for. The mentorship program looks for goals. I ask people to create what we call SMART goals. Goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And almost everybody has come in with their goals. So we have a nice round of people. We do have 1 pairing that hasn't responded. We have 1 pairing that thinks that they are not a great match. So we may end up with 8 people over the course, or 8 pairs over the course of the program. But so far, I won't give you specific goals because I want people to be able to work them out. But some of the themes that we're seeing, people want introductions to tour operators. People want to shadow other tours. Encouraging them to take fam tours, but they're looking also to shadow tours that they might not have a chance to. So the bus tours, so something like the thing that we're doing for the certification. They want to see what a bus tour really looks like before they go in that direction. They want to get better at the mechanics of running a tour. They want to get better at writing tours. So there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on. I'm going to be reaching out to everybody who's in the program by the 15th of this month, and we will have more and more to update you on. If you're interested in being a mentor, please, please, please get in touch with me. You can speak to me at the end in the meeting, or you can get me at nycwithroe@gmail.com. Who's next?
Well, first, any questions for Jeremy or for Roe?
Yes, hold on, let me give you the microphone. Stand up and identify yourself, please.
Sure. Hi, I'm Suzanne, and I'm gonna drop my stuff. I understood there was going to be a new member, meeting for new members. Is that still planned, or, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
That will be one of the things we discuss at the next membership meeting, which is just about to be scheduled, but we do definitely have plans to run at least one more. Any other questions?
Traditionally, those are held twice a year. So, and I think one was just held a couple of months ago, March or April. So probably sometime in the fall would be the guess. So, I had a question about the mentorship program. So is it kind of an ongoing, or is there a start and an end? If people, you said if people are interested in being mentors or mentees, can they still sign up? How does that work?
This one is timeout. So this one is going 6 months, end of April into October. I am beginning to think more and more as we bring more new people in, this might end up being something where we take people into the program on a rotational, ongoing basis, but I would like to keep it at a 6 month, set goals for 6 months, work together for 6 months, and then, obviously at the end of a mentorship program, you can still talk to your mentor. We're not gonna cut you off at the knees and say, that relationship is done, go away. But the program and us following up will just take the 6 months. But yeah, rolling admissions would definitely be something I'd love to think about.
Great. Okay, thank you, Jeremy and Roe, we appreciate it. Next up will be our brand new chair of the Multilingual Guides Committee, Mr. Steve Glover.
I don't know if I should just read my report out loud or just talk about it. You're all a very intimidating group. But I want to tell you something. I'm very approachable. So if you can talk to me when this is over or at any time. My idea was to invigorate the Multilingual Guides Committee and the idea that GANYC has value for guides who speak more than one language. And I'm not exactly sure why the committee was quiet for a while, but I want to bring it back to life. I think multilingual guides can make a really interesting contribution to GANYC in the sense that they'll have an angle on certain types of fam tours that pertain to the language that they speak. And I want to encourage people to conduct fam tours with that in mind. If they happen to speak French or Spanish or Mandarin or something, that the tour could give us some insight into what the life of a guide who's multilingual is like. That's one thing. The other thing I want to see is that the committee encourage new membership into GANYC, and so that the members of the committee would commit to bringing in at least one new member a month as a minimum goal to get started. And I'm looking at this room now, and I'm thinking there's about 50 people here. And if each one of you could bring in one new member into GANYC, that'd be 50 new members. And if we can get up the membership, we don't have to worry as much about the dues being increased, I would think. More members is more money. The dues would be a little more manageable for people. So that's what I think. And the other thing about fam tours, you give a fam tour and make your dues back in the tips that people will offer you at the end of the tour, I think. It's like taking the certification class, we'll make the money back. So it's the same kind of idea. So anyway, what I have now is a list of all the GANYC members that are multilingual, and I'm going to approach each one and ask them if they have ideas, what their concerns are, how they can contribute, how they want to contribute, and also kind of find out what the resistance may be that's out there to people coming into GANYC. I think the biggest problem is people's work schedule. I had a friend, she said she was gonna come with me tonight, I was gonna introduce her, at the last minute she had to work. So that's, I think, the big obstacle is just the work schedule, but I do wanna find out what obstacles are out there for people to join GANYC, try to overcome those, and give people the arms and ammunition they need to convince other people to become members of GANYC. I think we all appreciate the educational aspect of it, the networking aspect of it, the camaraderie of it, and we need to put that energy out there so that people join, people participate, and people make a contribution. Because I think we can all get a lot out of GANYC because of the educational aspect of it. So essentially that's it. I do have a plan. It's in my report. Draft a committee charter outlining the purpose and roles and responsibilities. Reference other GANYC committees for alignment. So I did talk to the chairman of the Government Relations Committee last month, and we agreed that diversity is something that we want to encourage. I've talked to Michael. I'm very close to the Education Committee, and as we go on, I've been forming alliances with the other committee members so that we're all working together to accomplish the same kind of goals. So, I mean, that's about it for now. I will be here, so if anyone wants to talk to me, I'm really interested in what people have to say and what they think the Multilingual Guides Committee should be doing. All right, thanks.
That's great, Steve. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Steve? We have a request for 2 questions. We'll start with Mark and then Tony in the back.
Hi, my name's Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Steve. The original purpose of the Multilingual Committee was to be sure that members who say they spoke a foreign language do in fact speak that foreign language. Originally, when members, before they could be added to the website, we always CC the Multilingual Committee so they would talk to them. Do you have any plans to bring that back or check on anyone who claims whatever language they speak, that they can in fact do a tour in that language?
Well, yeah, I was planning on reaching out to the people who identify as multilingual. Michael sent me the list of the members who are currently considered to be multilingual. I'm going to approach each and every one of them and see how they respond. I didn't really think they needed to be vetted, but why not? If they're claiming to be, they should be what they claim to be.
Ibrahim Diallo, he was the first chair of that, and when we were developing the website, he truly insisted on setting it up that way. It's obviously fallen by the wayside through the years, but I would suggest reaching out to him and just see what he wanted and
Well, that's a
whether
great
that's
idea.
realistic. It may not be realistic, but just start there.
Okay,
That's my opinion.
no, that's great. I appreciate that, because if I don't get that kind of advice, I'm going to run off and do my own thing. So that's exactly what I want, is for people to tell me. And last week, the gentleman from the Industry Relations Committee said to me, don't step on someone else's toes as far as going to the city and trying to get the tour guide test changed into other languages. He said, we have someone who does that. And then I talked to the person who is the Government Relations Committee. So, okay, I get it. It's not me. I'm working with other people. And so to go back to the beginning and get some advice from someone who started the thing, I think that's great advice. And that's a great message, and I appreciate that's exactly what I want. Because I don't want to go crazy. I want to be part of the team. Yeah, all right, thanks.
Thanks for that suggestion, Mark. And it sounds like maybe Steve connecting both with IT and the membership committee, because they're the ones who get the applications that say what members' language skills are. So, Tony.
Yes, hi, my name's Tony. In the effort to get some people to join, to get new people to join, is it not true that if you join at this time of the year, you can join for half the yearly dues?
Yeah, we don't want to get too far off topic. This is the Multilingual Committee, but yes, as of July 1st, anybody who joins pays half-year prorated dues on their membership.
Right, so you can use that to kind of promote it, and what else? What else was I gonna say? I think that's it. You can use that to promote it. Oh yeah, because some people, they don't know if it's really worth it. They don't know if they would be interested. This way they can join for half the price there, and and be in it for the rest of the year and make a decision on their own. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Tony. All right, thank you so much, Steve. Appreciate it. By the way, just to kind of finish the theme that Steve was talking about, I'm curious, those of you in the room, raise your hand if you lead tours in a language other than English.
How about
Brooklynites? Yeah, okay, great. So, and of course, as you all as most of you probably know, GANYC started as the Multilingual Guides Association of New York City, so it's part of our heritage, and it's amazing that Steve is really working to pick up the mantle and revive this committee. So, moving on, the NYC 400 committee with Mr. Gary Dennis.
Okay, well, since they needed the recording, just in case you don't have one, I have some with me. They are only $5. Shameless, NYC 400 promotion. All right, so since our last monthly meeting, in response to an email I sent out, NYC 400 needs you. All right, we did get a bunch of donated tours, and I just want to thank the people that have donated tours. I'm going to start, this is not alphabetical, but David Feldman, are you here? Yes, there you go. And he has offered a tour of Lower Manhattan and the afternoon a walking tour of Central Park. It's amazing, I can't even read my own goddamn typing. All right, it's not a church, I won't curse. Jose, you showed up, that's nice, there you go. All right, anyway. Also, we have Jeremy Wilcox, who's doing the Central Park tour. Thank you, Jeremy. Lee Hallingby, one of the toughest broads ever. Murals and mosaics of, God, I hate when I make me laugh. Mosaics of Spanish Harlem. Barry, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name. Are you here, Barry Judelman or Udelman? I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Have I got it right? That's you.
It's not me.
That's not you, but you know the guy. I didn't think it was you. There's so many guys I need, and then if you got a social security number and everything. All right, Forgotten Jews of Harlem. All right, which is, reading that list is kind of an amazing tour. Aaron Donnelly, Unlocking the Secrets of Gramercy Park, but no entry into Gramercy Park. I want to make that clear. Michael Morgenthau, you heard of him? Yeah, Michael Morgenthau, cool guy, and he's offered the colorful history, the colorful history of New York City newspapers. Stan O'Connor, night photography, not in a really weird way, no, night photography tour of the financial district. So, Jonathan Tour, just forget about it. You're not going to peeping Tom stuff, right? There you go. George Tonkin, are you here? There you go. Hey, there he is. All right, George Tonkin, Hamilton's, New York. Rita, and I'm going to mangle your name, Rita. I saw you're here somewhere. Rita DeCassia, there you go. Sneak it up on me as usual. New Amsterdam and the Financial District, walking tour. Bob Gilbert, a history of the Meatpacking District and the High Line, and then I donated a couple of tours as well. If I'm leaving anyone out, I'm sorry, but that is it. Also, that's the list I have. The tours are going to be put on through an email blast sent out by the Manhattan Borough President's Office, so hopefully we'll get their logo on our NYC 400 page. I did not look at you, Emma, when I said that. Now I am. How you doing, baby? All right, there you go. And also, yesterday I had a it was a very positive meeting with Gail Brewer's office. So I don't know if anyone knows who Gail Brewer is. She used to be the Manhattan Borough President, but then she got disgraced she was term limited out. And now she's back to being a city council member, and she's my city council member, I think. I don't remember, but they come and go, they shift the districts around. But anyway, Gail Brewer, who also has asked me if you have any issues to let me know. And she was referring to his guides on double-decker buses. That's what she was talking about. But then she brought up TWU, and I said, well, I think they're not on board 100% like the way they should be. But they're going to put it in their email blast as well. So thank you all for doing this, and thank you very much, and thank you for buying pins, and thank you for not running me out of this thing. And so it's almost over. I only got 6 months left, right, of this committee, right? Then it's USA 250. All right, and then we'll have another pin. Any questions? Anybody got any questions? Don't see any questions. Yes, Catherine. Yes, go ahead. Stand up and do a loud tour guide voice. Say who you are.
I'm Catherine.
That's Catherine.
Hi. June 22nd, that's the special day, but are there any other days that perhaps might be brought up? Because I wanted to give one, but I'm working. So, I know, I got a good job that day, so I couldn't turn it down.
Okay, so the reason why I just chose one date, I just thought it would be simpler. That's basically, you know, I thought it would be simpler, maybe it's not, but maybe it is. I just went with the one date though. I mean, we can add them on. I don't know what else the Manhattan, if they'll put us again on the list if we do more tours. But it certainly is getting our name out there, so that, you know, I'm all in favor of that. So I will talk to them. I will ask them, can we do another date with a fewer number of tours? I will put one in, you put one in, and then, you know, we'll pick a date, and there you go. How's that?
Sure.
All right, okay. I'm multilingual.
Hi, I'm Cherie. I'm on the 400 committee, and we are doing a video project called Send a Greeting to New York City to celebrate its 400th. So if you go to the website, go to the 400 page, it'll say Send a Greeting, and you will see what you can, you know, it's short, less than, between 10 and 40 seconds. Send your greeting, you can name your company. If you have guests that seem like they would be interested in sending a greeting to New York, there's definitely samples. Jeremy did a really good one in front of the historic house in my neighborhood. I always forget.
The Wyckoff House.
The Wyckoff House.
Well, my daughter works there now.
So check those out. We would really love your greetings to New York. You can promote your business and tour guiding, and you know, all the stuff is on the website.
And I do want to thank Cherie, and I just want to thank Cherie, Catherine, and Vince. Is you here, Vince? Vince here? No, he's not here. People that have been showing up to the meetings, things like that. Thank you very much, and in supporting this. So there you go.
Showing your tattoo.
We're gonna change the bylaws to insist that all committee chairs get tattoos reflecting the projects they're working on.
Certified!
Yeah.
Right there, right on your neck.
Not the chair, not the chair, thankfully.
All right, thank you, Gary. And I just want to add, you know, I've been on the board and chair of the Industry Relations Committee at various times for the last 8 to 10 years. And we have tried to develop various times free walking tours as a way to publicize guiding and GANYC, and for the most part, the membership has not responded. So I wanted to say thank you so much, Gary, for really being the one to get this all together, because it's something that has not succeeded that much. In the past, and I will add that we did send a press release out about this. I don't know if there have been any feedback yet, but I did also share it with our friends and colleagues at New York City Tourism and Conventions. They were very excited, and they plan to be promoting it in some way, shape, or form as well. Just in case anybody is not 100% sure what we're talking about, on June 22nd, in cooperation with the Manhattan Borough President's Office, we were offering a series of free walking tours. This is just me speaking, not on behalf of the committee, but the idea is for the members of the public to sign up for these. There's not necessarily to be like extended GANYC fan tours. So I'm not saying you shouldn't sign up for them en masse, but the idea is for us to really publicize it and have members of the public, both locals and out-of-towners, to sign up to help promote the thing. So not saying you shouldn't sign up, but just kind of consider that as we move forward. That's just my perspective. I did not talk to the committee about that. So, okay, let's move on. Next up is the Education Committee with Nina Mende.
Hi, so I represent multitudes. This is a big committee. It's definitely not only me, and of course, we thank you to Lisa for arranging the guest speaker, Lisa Puccio, one of the stellar members. And I'm going to do this really quickly. All the people who are in the Education Committee, I know you were going to yell at me for doing this, but Bob Gelber, Hey, you know, Jeremy Wilcox, John Semlak, Lisa Buccio, Susan Birnbaum. I do this in first name alphabetical order. And the kind of newer members, like 3 years, these members go back a really long time. Eileen Rourke, Mark Catapano, Sarah McGrath, Suzanne Reisman, who just did a tour on garbage and rats. Some of you might have attended that, which is great. So I'm going to, if you have an idea for a guest speaker, I know we're kind of booked up for this year. I mean, we've been very prolific, and we try to match speakers with venues. But if you do have an idea, we're starting to book 2026. And sometimes, you know, there's not that much room for guest speakers. We only have like sometimes 11 meetings a year. If we have an election, maybe 10 meetings a year, and we can have a guest speaker. But if you go to a lecture, you see someone you think would really be a good match, let us know. You know, let education know, education at GANYC, or talk to someone you know on the committee. I just listed a lot of names. If we can't fit them in as a guest speaker, we have professional development programs that we can fit them in. Or you can turn it into a fan tour. You know, so, you know, think very creatively. We've done that in the past. Okay, so I'm just going to do the upcoming events. We did a lot of events last month, and if I have time, I'll go back and thank people for those. But coming up, June 9th, World Trade Center Area Underground Art Tour, Art and History Tour with Ann McDermott. Notice that she's the head of membership, but she's also doing a lot of education. Liminal Brooklynites Fam Tour Summer Solstice with Mark Catapano. And that's June 20th, the other one's June 9th. June 23rd, the Billion Oyster Project, organized by Bob Gelber, who is also, there's a lot of synergy between committees, as you can see, between industry relations, and Bob is on industry relations and education. And Victorian Flatbush Tour of Jeremy Wilcox is June 25th. June 25th, a professional development program, getting your tours on Viator and beyond with Ann McDermott. Ann did an initial tour, and that should be on our website. So if you want to take that as a prequel, just see what it's about, and then you can go. And this PDP follow-up is at 7 p.m. July 10th, FAM, Garbage and Rats in New York City. If you missed the inaugural tour, it only gets better in the summer when it's nice and smelly. I saw 3 rats, and there was a photographer there, I think from the New York Post. Every time a rat would go by, they would just try to photograph the rat. I don't know if they got him, but we saw at least 3. And July 13th, Joan Didion's New York. I have a celebrity in the back, Joe Sabak, one of our guiding spirits. We're not going to hold him to it, but he kind of mentioned that he'd be up for an hour walking tour sometime in the future. We have a lot of things to be announced in the hopper. I think we're going to do again. Kevin Fitzpatrick mentioned Governor's Island. We have a lot of things TBA, so I'm not going to give you the dates right now, but stay tuned. We're trying to do encores. And one more thing, our next education meeting should be, June 18th? It's usually the 3rd Wednesday of the month. We sometimes change it around. It's on Zoom. It's at 6 o'clock. So, you know, tune in. And we always welcome new members. And if you, we also have, I know you're trying to get me over, we have a resource section. Any of these meetings, it should be on tape. And as a member, that's one of the benefits of membership. You get to access all of our speakers, all of the professional development programs that are online anywhere in the world. Anywhere you have a computer, tune in when you're on the airplane, when you're bored, or you know, you can always lifelong learning. So that's about it. I have a whole list of tours that went on. We have a perpetual index of tours that have gone on. And so this will be in the minutes, and your name will be in lights. Anyone who's done a tour, well, we have it going back since 2009 or 2008. All the tours we ever did, and your name is immortal. And people will, you're a resource for people, so they'll look you up, and you'll get work. Yeah.
Thank you, Nina. All right, any questions for Nina and the Education Committee? Okay, our last committee report, Industry Relations with Mr. Bob Gilbert.
today. So, fairly short report. I just want to let everyone know that since the May membership meeting, which I missed because I was away, we want to welcome 3 new industry partners voted in by the membership. Fireman Hospitality, Guardian Travel Group, and Turo City LLC. Additionally, I want to thank the staff at the Perlman New York Performing Arts Center. They did a wonderful fan for us last week for 20 GANYC members. Behind the scenes, it's really an amazing place if you've never been there. And they're going to give us another one in the future. I just have to work on it with them. Due to expected inclement weather, the visit to the Billion Oyster Project was canceled. They thought there'd be a hurricane. It actually did not even rain that day. But on Monday, June 23rd at 2 o'clock, we will be back there. 25 spaces, and I believe it's already taken. But we will try to get another one. Perlman took 2 years to get to, so I know that I never give up. Eventually something will happen. Billion Oyster Project I started working on last winter, and that was with information from Mark Landman, because he had visited it during Open House New York weekend last October, and he gave me the name of a contact person. Who was the wrong one, Mark, but it still worked out. Our next few meetings through the end of the year, we are spoken for, which is wonderful. Next month, we're at the State Bar and Grill at the Empire State Building. August, we're waiting for final confirmation. Luna Park in Coney Island. We are hoping that we have been there many summers. We try to go there every August. September, we need a space, so we are working on that. October, John Street Methodist Church in Lower Manhattan. November, the Theater Center on West 50th Street. And December, the Aloft Hotel in Long Island City. Now, okay, so I didn't want to forget this, so I typed it, but I know what to say anyway. I want to take this opportunity to thank our fearless chair of the IT committee, Emma Guest-Consales, because as Mike already mentioned in his report, it is not easy keeping track of industry partners, finding out when they lapse, finding out when they get billed on their credit card for renewal and they say we don't want to be an industry partner anymore. So we're trying to revamp the entire program. But Emma has been instrumental in every time since September. We've had about 13 to 14 new industry partners. Every time we get a new industry partner, Emma reaches out to them. She gets all their contact information, gets their logo to put it on our website, and then they send their logo to put it, we send our logo to put on their website. So Emma, thank you. And I'm gonna call Emma up now because there's something that she's been working on, so I want her to talk about it, even though it's in my report. Thank you all. Anyone have any questions for me? No. All right, I'm finished.
Maybe I should.
Hi, everybody. So I'm Emma. I'm the chair of the IT committee, and so if you have any problems with your profile, stuff like that, just shoot me an email, it@ganyic.org. But this is not about IT, it's really industry relations, but it's because of the wonderful event we did with Russell Shorto at the Center for Brooklyn History. And some of you attended that event, and on full disclosure, it was a packed house. That was not, I mean, we didn't do any of the registration or anything like that, so that was everybody else in Brooklyn and around coming to the event. So my apologies, some people complained they didn't have a seat. I'm like, I know, I'm sorry, but it was super duper popular. But before that, we did a visit to the Othman Library, which is this gorgeous, gorgeous space. So I've been in contact with them, and we've been working together on how to arrange for GANYC guides to be able to give tours of the Othman Library to their guests when they go to Brooklyn. So what we've got here is I've been speaking to the wonderful person named Lexi Myers, and Lexi and I we're going to have a meeting in July. We're going to do a walkthrough. But basically, they're fine with GANYC members bringing guests to see the Othman Library. But there is a procedure to be followed. There will be a Google sheet that you can fill out when you're ready to do that. And I will be posting about that, and I'll send an announcement with a link once they're all ready with it. But basically, if you want to bring a tour to
the Offner Library and to the Center for Brooklyn History. You'll need to contact Brandon Graham, who's their Welcome Services Coordinator, at least 2 weeks prior to the tour. I do have his email if anyone's planning a tour, like immediately in the next 2 weeks, you've got to go there. Please email me. And so basically he will check the date and make sure there are no conflicts, they're not having something happening in the library that would conflict with your tour. So they just need your name and your phone number and your email, your requested date and time, approximate duration, what spaces you want to visit, the Great Hall, the Offner Library, the Francioli space, the number of attendees, and if you need to use any props or audio visuals or things like that, like if you need AV equipment, like if you want to be speaking to a very large group. But that's something you can work out directly with them. And then they want to know if there's anything that you would need to know, that you would need to help support your visit. So if you're planning a special tour in Brooklyn Heights, or you're planning a special tour in the neighborhood, and you want to include that, that is now part of, you can add that to part of your tour. And if you all went to the space, if you've seen the space, it's just fantastic. And so they're happy to have people in there, but it is a research library, so they want to make sure that, our tours are not interrupting researchers while they're at work at the library. So if you want to get in touch with me, the easiest way is just it@GANYC.org, or you can send me a personal email. I'm all over the place, you'll find me, don't worry about it. Anyways, so shoot me an email if you have something coming up in the very near future. Otherwise, keep your eyes open for an announcement about this and about how to fill out the form, and then hopefully people will start bringing guests there because they really want more people to visit the space. So it's pretty exciting. Yeah. And I don't really do tours in Brooklyn, so I'm excited. Any questions about that?
All right, that's a great project. There's many hats, as you know, and now she's going to talk to us for a minute in her hat as the area rep for the World Federation of Tour Guide Association about some upcoming WFTGA programs. So,
Right, so thank you, Mike. So especially for those of you who are new members or who are guests visiting, GANYC is Guides Association right here in New York City. GANYC is part of the NFTGA, the National Federation of Tourist Guides Associations, and we're also part of the World Federation, WFTGA. For the World Federation, we, GANYC, the DC Guild, and NFTGA are the three North America, the three, USA guides associations that are members. Okay, NFTGA covers a whole bunch of guides associations, but we are members on our own right. As GANYC members, you too then are a member of the WFTGA. I hope you all saw an email with an announcement about it, and about the upcoming convention, about registration for the convention. So a little more information about that. Registration got delayed. It's really because of Expo 2025 in Osaka is raising the prices on everything, like really, really high. And so the part of when you win a convention bid, and the bid is people who want to win the convention and be presented to bid to host the World Federation Biennial Convention here in New York City. It's a very long, very complicated process, but you also have certain prices that you have to maintain, and they're working on how to make sure they'll be able to do that. So by July, we will know about the registration and about all of that. So that's in the pipeline. Sebastian Frankenberger, who's the president, is working very, very hard on that. The other thing we have with WFTGA, and this is something that Maricar Donato really works hard on. Many of you may know Maricar, who's the DC Guild Guide, and she is also a certified WFTGA trainer. She works with me and the other area representatives about doing networking meetings. And so these are online Zoom meetings. My area, I'm the area representative for North America, so it's Canada and the United States, also for a bunch of the Caribbean islands, and Oceania, because actually that works because of the time difference. Along with my fellow area representatives from Central and South America, okay, we are going to be having a networking event on June 16th in the evening. This is at 7 p.m. New York City time. This is on Zoom. There are like 70 people already signed up from all around the world. This is open to everybody. Sebastian really wants it to be open to any tour guide, okay? This is a place to sort of meet people virtually, to talk about different things. And the theme for this first one, there are going to be 2 networking sessions and then a webinar. The theme for this networking session is getting to know each other, just sort of introduce yourself. You know, I've met lovely guys from across the globe. And also to talk about the main concerns, the issues that we're really worried about as tour guides in our industry. So that's what that session is going to be, and it's going to be on the 17th, okay, the 16th of June at 7, the 16th of June at 7, okay. On the 17th, there's another like a equivalent of our continuing education project. There are all these different activities that WFTGA does. So I really advise you all to go to their website, wftga.org, okay? You can email me at the WFTGA. I got that email too, like 8 emails. So it's emma@wftga.org for that business. And I can hook you up with different things. But if you go to their website and go to activities, you can sign up to be subscribed to all the newsletters, and that way you get them directly yourself. And then you can see the calendar, and that's where you register. You register on that page. One thing about the registration, it might say 1 a.m. for the meeting, and you're like, what the what? That's because it's 1 a.m. in Vienna. For us, it's 7 o'clock in the evening, okay? Because their calendar is set to Viennese time, because that's where WFTGA is based. Last but not least, and Mike posted about this in the Facebook group today, the Culture Card, which is this a tour guide association card that is accepted at different venues, mostly overseas, that gives you free entrance to different places. It doesn't always work. I have my Culture Card, and so I go to Italy a lot. Whenever I'm there, I show the Culture Card with my NYC tour guide's license, and I've gotten into places for free. So it's nice to have. Now it's digital, and so you can put it onto your phone. And so the link to download it, Mike posted it. I'll also send an announcement to everybody, an email blast, so everybody gets to see that. But that's the Culture Card. It can't hurt. And I can tell you it works at San Lorenzo in Florence and Santa Novella, so that saves you 15 euros, so why not? Okay, so, and that's it. Any questions about WFTGA?
Yes, hold on, Emmanuel.
So my name is Emmanuel, and I wanted to ask you, Emma, about Fokokos next year in Japan. So the registration will be open next month, more or less?
So that's what they're working on. They're working on opening it in July, because there are all sorts of different things that are sort of out of their control right now.
And my question was, like, anybody from GANYC can register for that, and the price will be added next month, right? More or less for that.
So all information about pricing, about hotels, about the dates is in February. I think it's the 8th through the 14th is the actual convention. There's the pre-convention tour, there's post-convention tour. So that will have all the information about prices, all the information about hotels, all the information about early bird or regular registration, about the accompanying person, and things like that. GANYC members are full WFTGA members, so you are very welcome to register and encouraged to do so.
Thanks again. I have a little more info about the cultural card. I think it's so important. Could you?
So the cultural card is really not used in the United States. We don't have links to do it in the United States because it's primarily through more like national tourist board offices, which we don't have here. I think there's a cabinet undersecretary under the Biden administration that came out, but we don't have that kind of tourism entity that they have in other nations. So it really isn't here. I mean, I know people who, James Saunders, who's in Canada, who's the sort of representative for that, but I don't know if you've done anything about that for North America. So, but it's good overseas, and if you got it, why not? Just try it.
Okay. Anything else for Emma? Great.
Thanks so much, Emma. I appreciate that. Just to kind of make sure it's clear, the culture card is for your personal use, right? It's not for like, hey, I'm a tour guide, I'm bringing 20 people to somewhere. This is for your personal use. I will tell you, Emma, you might know this, you might not, this is very much on the radar of Jim Carr, the president of the WFTGA, who's active with the Museum Association of America, or whatever their title is, and now that the cultural card has been reborn, I believe he wants to start approaching museums to see if it can get some traction here in the US as well. So as that develops with the various meetings that we have with the WFTGA, we'll give an update on that. Yeah, no, a lot of great stuff with the WFTGA. That's one of the benefits of being a member of GANYC is you get access to these other associations, the World Federation, the National Federation. So when you meet people and say, why should I join GANYC? That's another quiver, arrow in our quiver, so to speak. So, okay. Just a couple of more quick announcements before we wrap things up. Bob did mention that the next meeting, membership meeting, is at the State Bar and Grill. Please note it is on July 9th, the second Wednesday, because we didn't want it to conflict with the July 4th holiday week. So July 9th at the State Bar and Grill. So back to Wednesday, but just the second Wednesday. And our post-meeting get-together is right down the block at the Park Place. Is it called Park Place Diner? Park Plaza Diner, sorry. Got the letters right at least. So, last but not least, when we do close the meeting, I think it would be a nice gesture if we just stacked up the chairs to help our hosts. Any other business before we entertain a motion of a certain type?
$5.
Right, if you want an NYC 400 pin, $5 to Gary, find him. Okay.
I'm right here.
He's right here, so, okay.
Multilingual.
Okay.
Where do we bring the chairs?
Sorry, Harvey?
Where do we bring the chairs?
Just stack them up, I would say. So, wait, we didn't adjourn yet, guys? Yes, AJ?
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.